sleeve, expecting to see only his own reflection. But what he saw instead drained the blood from his face. In the mirror's warped surface, standing directly behind him, was Emily. Her eyes were black and wide, her skin pale and wet as if she had just crawled out of the river. And beside her, holding her hand, was Sophie, expressionless, staring straight into Mark's eyes through the mirror. He spun around in a heartbeat, but no one was there. The jungle behind him was empty. Mark dropped the mirror in panic. But it didn't shatter, it thudded softly into the earth like it had been absorbed. He stared down at the ground, breathing heavily, and then noticed the ring on his palm was no longer there. It had vanished. Just like the footprints, just like the drawings. He began to shout Emily's name, over and over, louder, more desperate. But all that answered him were soft echoes, his voice bouncing back from directions he hadn't shouted into. And then, another voice joined his own, whispering the same name. Emily, it hissed, in a voice that almost sounded like him, but just a bit too distorted, to hollow. His body began to tremble as the forest closed in again, seeming to slither, shadows lengthening, shapes shifting in his periphery. For a moment, Mark felt completely weightless, like he was floating between reality and dream. He didn't know how long he stood there, frozen. Hours, minutes, days. Eventually, someone found him. A fisherman from a distant village spotted a man standing knee-deep in the river, staring blankly into the trees, whispering to no one. Mark was barefoot, his clothes soaked and torn, and his hands clutching something invisible. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. And when rescuers brought him to safety, he said nothing. But even now, when alone, he sometimes lifts his hand and stares at the space where a ring once rested. To this day, Emily and Sophie Carter have never been found. No remains. No confirmed sightings. Only a man, once a husband and father, left hollow by what he saw and heard in that forest. Mark Carter remains in psychiatric care, still unable to speak a single word about what happened in those 63 days. But every so often, nurses report seeing him clutch an invisible object in his palm and whispering softly to someone who isn't there. Some say the Amazon swallowed them whole. Others believe they became part of something ancient, something waiting in the jungle long before we ever arrived. The locals still won't go near the silent land, and no new expeditions dare cross its edge. But one thing is certain, not all who vanish are lost, and not all who return come back alone. So if you ever find yourself deep in the jungle and hear the voice of someone you love calling your name, don't answer, because it may not be them at all. Asterisk.